is just fantastic.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a marvellous day today. Yesterday I set a goal, a target. We hit it. I'd make a part 2. I actually have no idea if we hit the target. Turns out I was always going to make a part 2 because I felt it wrong to not complete Jar's responses. There are aspects of it I want to get to. I want to get to his final thoughts as well, so we can better understand his point. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, I'll link it in the pinned comment. Otherwise, we're just going to carry on from where we left off.
Ironically, he was covering my video on cancel culture.
Never know for what or when you'll be cancelled. Maybe you were live streaming and you suddenly screamed out the N-word. Maybe you lied about a drama which caused people to dig into your past about other dramas you have talked about. Maybe you're completely innocent and the allegations against you are false, but too many people are against you and they won't listen. Or maybe you don't have the evidence to prove your innocence. I know cancellation will come for me one day. It comes for everyone. It's not a question of if it will happen to me, it's when. Will it happen in 2025, 2022, or maybe this year? We won't know for sure until it happens.
I'm not going to deny a small part of me is impressed you would use older content to drive home a current point. But it distracts, and that's the point, really, is that a lot of what you're doing kind of falls within the realm of smoke and mirrors. Seeing what you want us to see, what you think, and how you think, to understand your perspective better. It doesn't change anything, really. Context is key, and I fully agree, but the outcome is always going to be the same. And I'm not suggesting some kind of defeatism, if that even isn't tism, although there is a tism involved in this somewhere. I'm just saying that this seems a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, that video aged like a fine wine. I may not fully understand myself as a person, but I do understand that I say off-the-cuff stuff all the time, and that I'm autistic.
It's not that you say things that are off the cuff. It's that what you say doesn't fall in line with the current message. And there are many messages that resonate and don't because of the ebb and flow of commentary. Many of us have had to adapt by removing certain words, for example, from our language. You're not one of them, and that's totally fine. But you also have to accept that with that inability to adapt comes the consequence of falling behind and being treated as such. Although I guess you are at least Mystic Meg, and able to, predict the future, and if you're English, Mystic Meg would ring a bell or two.
Me getting cancelled was never a question of if it would happen, but when.
As somebody that's not a fan of the word cancelled, I want to correct slightly. You weren't cancelled, you were called out by everyone that said, no, this was bad. To be cancelled would indicate there's no way back. There is totally a path back for you. There really is. This video is not it.
I was never foolish enough to believe that I would be the only autistic man on the internet to never get cancelled. If my roommate came home on time, he definitely would have told me, hey, this draft sucks and you need to change a lot of things about it.
Or, if you weren't so impulsive to race ahead of somebody else, you wouldn't have released it in the first place. Earlier in the previous video anyway, you mentioned you only acted and released because of somebody else releasing something. Yeah, it's called making excuses. Right, okay.
This is why I didn't ask my roommate to help me debate anyone. He loves debating and he's really good at it, but he only had superficial context as to what was going on, so it wouldn't have been right for me to ask him for help. Me asking him to jump into a random stream and help me debate a topic he didn't know that much about would have more than likely made things worse for me.
No offense intended, but we can never be too certain these days as to the outcome, because while it's always nice to hypothesize what could have been, the reality is what has happened. You should never live with hindsight because it doesn't help you. It is a useless mechanism in the context of seeking to be better. Unless you intend to attempt again, it's no good to you in this instance. And before someone pedantically points out that hindsight is useful in this context. Thank you.
On top of that, with a little bit of the situation I did explain to him, he told me it was a bad idea to get involved. Yes, I absolutely regret not listening to him, and I'm so sorry for it. Some people said I should have flagged or copyright strike down Kumo's video, but I'm gonna be honest here. Once a video is out there, it's kind of out there. And I've seen what happens to other YouTubers when they try to strike down a video. Long story short, it doesn't end well for them.
I feel like there could be a rather lengthy discussion in the hindsight realm that occupies this space. The part that matters is that somebody uploaded your video, which does fall within the fair use, the stealing of content territory, if you'd already uploaded it to YouTube before then. If it was already on YouTube before that version, you could have struck that down. And you would have a valid reason to do so under YouTube's terms of service. regardless of outcome and regardless of the internet being forever, somebody stole your content.
Kumo uploading my video ruined a lot of things for me. It kept me from reaching out to Jack and doing further research on the topic. Even if I didn't upload my unfinished draft, I still would have received a ton of backlash. Just not as much backlash as I'm receiving now. Because of my lack of research on the situation, I did not understand how bad Cinny really was, until I had a call with Himpleton. Yes, I understand he's getting cancelled right now, which made my drama blow up even more, but he still explained the situation to me and helped me understand where I went wrong.
This is where you have a few problems. One is that you work a full-time job, so should you be investing your time and effort and resources when you have it into content like this where ill-informed takes come from being impulsive or acting recklessly? You claim Kumo being the reason why you acted. You cite your roommate for not being home on time. Notice a pattern here? To be honest, you shouldn't cover subjects like this at all if you're not able to commit to making those videos. I fully understand you have a job and a life. I also understand you have tunnel vision. You're dyslexic, you're autistic. I get it. I 100% do. But these subjects are remarkably complex if you want to make them complex. But they're remarkably simplistic if you don't get bogged down with the unnecessary grey area others create to try and present a differing narrative.
Apparently, Cindy told Enno that it wasn't a big deal that she had a fetish at 11, and she also got Enno, who was 14 at the time, to read out the comic. And that makes the whole situation way more disturbing than I originally was led to believe.
Which further cements my belief that you did not prepare, practice, nor perform. You went into it with your blind spot on. And you went based on opinions of others rather than your own, which your own should be cemented in your own time and effort put into this subject. Others had highlighted this in their videos, live streams. I saw Chud Logic address it quite clearly, and you live streamed with Chud. So I'm somewhat impressed at the level of lacking that has been found within your work this time. Well, back then anyway. I was surprised, because others had defended you vehemently for years.
When I was 14, I did an unpaid internship for a ranger station.
I'm going to mute this part because Jar goes on to explain somebody sharing magazines they found while working together. I don't care for it. I understand the need to justify and explain, over-explain. I don't want to play it in this video.
When Himpleton explained this to me, that was the moment everything hit me. Oh my god, I can't believe what I have done, and I'm so sorry for it. I should have done better research. Now granted, I am not happy with Himpleton leaking our call without asking me for permission first, and I'm also not happy with him saying he was pulling an op on me. However, he still did help me out a lot, so I have to thank him for that.
Well, I guess I was wrong about the defeatist thing. Small point to add, of course, Jar is actually in the right when it comes to leaking private conversations. Much like DMs, we saw that with Elon Musk doing it to Asmongold recently. I do not support that. I can't. It's why I never used it in any of my content. Certainly against Jar anyway.
Just to give you an example of the extra research I could have done on Cinny, this doc was released on the same day Kumo uploaded my video onto his channel. Unlike the other two docs, it's short and straight to the point. If I saw this, I would have held off on uploading my video to do extra research. But because of what Kumo did, I panicked and uploaded what I had.
I'll start by saying no offense intended, again. But what you could have done better does not change what you did. You are a commentary creator. Your role, your hobby, is to make commentary content. You branched out into a realm I didn't think you were going to be going back into, drama, but it turns out you did. You bucked the trend because you thought it was like pyrocynical, and that Cinny would have some rising from the ashes like a phoenix moment situation type deal. I don't know where that came from, because it can't have been more obvious in the original Google Doc.
When I uploaded the Cinny video to my channel, all I could think about was how unprepared I was for this situation. I came across as very arrogant in that video due to past success of going against the mainstream commentary community opinion and coming out on top.
Yeah, I've never understood that mentality. There are a number of creators who've acted like that in the past. Arrogance born out of that pride. I take pride in always being right. I will admit I say that from time to time, but I know I'm not. I just say it. But in this instance, you have to treat each instance as if it's a one-off. Just because you've got some pedigree, as it were, didn't mean that you should immediately buck the trend. Turns out when it involves children, there's no trend to buck. I don't know how that's complicated to you, but apparently it is.
Granted, often when I upload a video on YouTube, I get anxiety. I think to myself, oh no, this is the video that's going to get me cancelled. Hopefully it will go over well. That's why I try to hype myself up, because often when you come across as confident in a video, it makes people more willing to hear you out.
Well, this would certainly go so far as to explain why I don't hype myself up, and I'm not seen by the masses that often, which I'm okay with.
Granted, it's a double-edged sword because it can make you come across as an arrogant douchebag as well. As for the way I interviewed Cinny, I have no excuses for myself. I was completely unprofessional with how I handled that interview. The interview was very cringe and my questions were leading. I was thinking about redoing it, but I thought that would be dishonest.
It wasn't misleading and honest, it's just there are a lot of words for what could have been, well, changed for simple glock glock noises. That would have made the interview a lot shorter, and one of you may well have gotten a happy ending out of it. But if you remove the glock glock sounds and use the words alone, you didn't have a very good showing, because a lot of it was based on you taking the side of Cinny and only the side of Cinny. When opportunity presented itself for you to present a counterpoint, you were nonchalant about it. You were dismissive. You were not as fully invested because you were ill-prepared. If you're going to interview somebody, you need to make sure you know everything. And she didn't give you much either. And you seemed okay with that, which was really weird. You did not handle the situation well, and yeah, it became a part of an undoing. A reputation like yours can only go up if you actually bother to put effort into what you do. The Cinny Bear video was not it.
Also, I leaked out the full version of the interview, not Cinny. Lyle Convoy asked me for it, and I sent it to him after thinking things over for a few days. I could have said I didn't have it anymore, but I wanted to be honest. At the end of the day, I shouldn't have even entertained the idea of making that video in defense of Cinny. It was reckless, it was stupid, and I deserve to be dunked on for it.
While I'm glad you are willing to make these concessions and admissions now, the fact it's taken this long to reflect and come to that conclusion speaks volumes about your character. When we make a mistake, we have to own it straight away, but you didn't. You tried to defend it, and then when you were kind of bending over for Chud, which you were, no offense intended, I've said that a few times already, you bent over and spread him very quickly, because you're not, like many people, very good at confrontation. I'm not either, so I try to avoid getting into too much controversy. Because of that, many more people started to really dive into who you are as a person, which led to what can be considered a form of character assassination, but one that had basis of fact because of past behaviour. The God complex part really didn't help, I will admit.
The only part of the video that aged well is what I said about Jack. From the very beginning, I knew there was something that wasn't adding up about this drama, and it was Jack. They're getting bashed for stuff hard right now, but I know for a fact they're not going to leave the internet. They're way too addicted to it. My entire Cinny video wasn't terrible, but enough takes were so bad that I shouldn't have uploaded it.
I don't really care about the Jack stuff. No lie, I have so little interest in it. But I'm not surprised in the middle of admissions of guilt you are compelled to dunk on someone else. Because I told you so, right? You're still operating with hindsight, which is totally fine when admitting fault, but then using it to reference other things, to bring it into a different argument to perhaps lend greater context so people won't hit you as hard, makes it seem like you've thought this out a bit too much, which would explain why this is a 40+ minute video, and why we're only going to focus on the Cinny part before getting to other bits.
You might think that this video is over now. After all, my Cinny video is the main problem people have, right? Well, surprisingly, no. In fact, I would actually go as far as to say that it's only 1/10 of the reason as to why I'm getting cancelled right now. Because Cinny thought it would be a good idea to leak our DMs, even though I was sticking my neck out to help her.
So this is the part where we get to what had been dubbed the Simping allegations. Just a Robot in the video titles it How I Talk to People. As far as I'm concerned, how you talk to people have a number of different faces. Generally speaking, I speak to everyone exactly the same way. I think there's only 2 exceptions. One is my oldest friend in the world, and our messages, well, are brief, because I'm not a talky person, okay? I don't send long messages. But generally, I speak to everyone with a modicum of respect and patience. That's how I've always operated. I know for a fact that does not apply to you, because who you have been, and I've seen messages in the past, who you have been, and who you want us to believe you are 2 totally separate people. I do not support anyone leaking DMs of anybody at all. But I'm acutely aware of seeing those messages and thinking, oh look, another face, another mask. I wonder when this one will slip.
Now, I've been called a simp for defending someone before. I've been called a simp for Peaches, Antunes, Mari, and many others. But because the DMs between me and Cinny were leaked, the simping allegations actually have some evidence for once. However, the allegations of me simping for Cinny are false. I can understand why someone would believe I was simping, especially if they didn't know me as a person. I'm gonna be real here. Me saying wanna see my cock, followed up by a picture of a chicken, or me commenting nice pussy when someone shows me their cat, are common jokes I've made multiple times with multiple different people.
In the context of what you present, I do not believe that any of that makes you a simp. I think what makes you look like more of a simp is that interview you did. The DMs just look like the average DM. It's like, show me your tits, and someone sends you a picture of blue tits. Yeah? It's the same thing, okay? It's just a cringy way of engaging with people you talk to. Friends talk like this all the time. There's internet speak, IRL speak, and then there's autist speak. If you don't like that I've separated those three, there are other types as well, but in the context of this, those three apply. Be offended. I really don't care. People talk to each other in different ways. I've spoken to people in similar ways. I've made jokes because of my Euro Truck game that on the dashboard I can put a statue of a cockerel. It's black and it wobbles. There are some obvious jokes in there, especially if I'm in a black truck that happens to be from the manufacturer, MAN. You know exactly what the joke is. It's fairly obvious. So I don't believe those DMs make you look like a simp, based on when they were sent as well. I believe what makes you look like a simp is that those messages, along with the interview, especially the interview, come across as you did white knight a little. You can't deny it. You hedged your bets and were found wanting.
I can't believe I used the same cock joke on the same person twice. The only compliment I gave her was calling her Mamacita. Here's the audio clip.
Alright, Mamacita, I'll hit you up when I get home.
As you can clearly see, I was making a race joke, not actually trying to hit on her. When I do hit on women, I don't put on a voice like that. I can't believe people thought this was my attempt to sound sexy. I talk to both men and women like this, it's just how I joke around.
What sucks the most about this segment, the simping allegations, is that you are compulsively, and it's clear that's the case because of how long the segment is, you are of the compulsive mind you have to over-explain all of it. It can be simply reduced down to one thing. Everyone read far too much into that. If you've forgotten what it's like to speak to people you are friendly with or friends with, chances are you need to get a life. I've sent messages where people question my sanity because I send funny messages, mostly audio to be fair, because I don't type crap out much. I find audio saves me trouble, okay? There's nothing wrong with how you interact with people. I think in the context of this, it all gets over-analysed because of what had happened with your Cinebear video. How it got leaked, who's to blame, blah. And again, I want to highlight the fact the majority of the messages that Jar has shown are from 2022, 2 years before any of this happened.
For example, here are a few audio clips I've sent to Akumu, not to be confused with Kumo.
Me and you, man, we're gonna make some magic together. Akumu, trust me, our team up on YouTube is gonna result in Yaoi being drawn of us. It's gonna be great. Yes, Yaoi, boys and lover.
Let's be real here. If I said this to Cinny or any woman, I would never hear the end of it. I'm gonna be honest here, I think telling someone we're gonna make some magic together and that people will draw ship art of us is a lot more sexual than saying wanna see my cock and sending an image of a chicken.
Yes, we get it. Homoerotic humour is hilarious. As someone that has what many dub a husband, i.e. my oldest and closest friend, who I used to have, and I used to a really good Picard voice for this, I would declare whenever he called me, I was going to have a booty call. This joke has persisted from 2012 to present. It's just a fact of life. Hell, on my birthday card, he wrote, "From your husband," or "Love your husband." It's just a running joke. I get it. You don't need to go so far into this. This may well be why people are going to start responding to this more, because you've unnecessarily divulged a bit too much because you're desperate to try and, well, get it all out there. And I fully get that, because that's the point of debunking and addressing criticisms levied against you, and you want to put it in one place so it's done. The problem you've got is not everything needs to be responded to. Some things you have to let go. And I understand it can't be, because it's your integrity, it's your channel, it's your brand. But you're not going to win every fight. This was proof of it. The Cinebear, that is. Situation.
I also have ship art of me and another YouTuber. It's Manga Common, who is a guy. It's Rule 63 versions of our avatars kissing in underwear.
Now, the whole world pretty much knows what I jerk off to.
I have no desire, nor romantic interest in getting together with Manga Common. If I had art like this commissioned of me and Cine, oh my god, I would never be able to get out of this.
I also said this to her in our interview, which was the first time I ever had a call with her.
Like, here's the thing, I'm way more sexist than I'm racist.
At least you're admitting to it.
What do you know, you're a woman.
The problem with that is you've been accused of blackfacing an avatar, which I didn't really care about. I think a few YouTubers did defend you on that one, and for using language that was considered racist. The sexist thing still doesn't really matter too much. None of it does. Now, I could sit here all day and go through the simping allegations, but to be honest, a lot of what you present is remarkably repetitive. And you could have just simply boiled it down to what I earlier said as a one-thing statement. People read far too much into the simping allegations when it was based on the DMs. But when it came to simping with regards to the interview, there was certainly a point. White knighting perhaps would have been more applicable, but the point still stood and stacked up. So instead, I'm going to skip to your final thoughts, because there might be a few points there worth addressing here. And that is right at the end of the video. Oh, joy of joys.
There are some smaller allegations against me, like how my roommate isn't actually black, or that me and my roommate jack each other off, or that I make videos on a combination of cocaine, Adderall, and magic mushrooms. Every other allegation I've heard against me doesn't really have any proof backing it up, or the proof contradicts it, like the claim that I got a fetish from watching anime, even though I literally said the opposite.
They are so minor, you really didn't need to include them, because I can guarantee now people are going to dig into those just to find out if there's any truth to it. Although, now that they've been put out there as theories, either from others or from yourself, people are going to believe it because the well has been poisoned with regards to just a robot. I still think you should just bring back the robot voice and go back to making what you made before. You know where your limitation is, you know where you're good. Why walk away from that? Although I'm not entirely sure you will be able to do as well as you did in the past, without getting hacked again.
Like to have a fetish at 11.
I mean, I think it's common to have a fetish, but not at 11. Like,
No,
don't get me
exactly.
wrong. I developed a gender bend fetish at like 7 or 8, but that's because I watched Ranma 1/2, and it developed early on. But like, I did develop a rape fetish from watching Berserk.
I won't lie, this whole drama has not been fun for me to go through. I joined the losing side in a big drama, and the people I joined tried to sabotage me and destroy me.
I guess the main lesson to learn from that is, people are snakes. Straight up. I don't make it a point to associate with many creators on purpose, because I don't want to. I like what I do, and there are a few creators I do like, but there are still an arm's length distance, because I would rather keep it that way. There are some creators I get on so well with, we are supposed to do live streams together and we haven't yet sorted it out. Time constraints and me going to Norwich at some point in the near future have kind of put things on the back burner a little, and because apparently we're both special needs in that respect. The audio clip you played did you no favours. I had to cut out all the dead air. Your social lackings, and that's not a dig, interpersonal skills are vitally important. Undo you, because you have to analyse and present the answer. But when you do, no matter how long you took, you weren't able to give an answer that didn't make you look bad. Now, I must have come from a very different time, because the discussion of sex, fetishes, didn't come into my life until I was in my late teens, when people discussed these things, and I just listened because I didn't really care. But that's the mentality I had when I was younger, where I was more interested in academia. I really was. I placed all of my faith into academia. So observing people talk about kinks felt a bit weird to me. But I wasn't going to judge them for it, because that's the nature of those types of friends. Anime wasn't so big over here either. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that had gained some steam, but I hadn't heard of anime until I started on YouTube. And then I was told about hentai, and I'm like, what on earth is hentai? And then people try and give me recommendations for anime, and I have to keep saying, I don't watch anime. Please stop. I beg. Another reason I don't is because a lot of the characters within it are far too young, and I find it highly inappropriate. But that's just a personal thing, okay? I'm not judging those that enjoy it. Please enjoy whatever you enjoy. It's your business, and I'm not judging you for that. I'll stick to watching what I like to watch, which at the moment is a Japanese guy in a van that he's converted and driving around and doing stuff. Well, mostly in the van, which is cool, I think. It's like ASMR, but without the suffering of the sounds next to a microphone. As a final point, I do think there is a place for Just a Robot in the online space. But if this is to serve as a lesson to you, it should be for you, Just a Robot, a lesson in your limitations. Because these kind of subjects have a quick turnaround. And you as a creator don't have the time, because you work so much, to invest as much time as you can into subject matter like this and present something that is good, well received, and you, by extension, well respected. So I firmly believe you should do what you were doing before this, because I think you were reviewing shows. It may not do as well, but that, at this point, is better for you, and you have a better chance of continuing as a creator if you want to continue as a creator. You are clearly not suited for live formats, but that's not to say you can't. If you started doing streams on Twitch and just practicing over time, there's a chance you could actually do better. I remember when I first started streaming, I was terrible. Now I'm quite comfortable. I can sit, hold a conversation for an hour and a half with an audience, comfortably. I can't do it for 8 hours. Turns out after 4, I actually develop somewhat manic episodes of I don't know what's going on in my life, and I might start talking to an imaginary friend, because I go a bit bonkers after a while. I don't know how anyone does that. But for you, because of your issues, your problems, your health concerns, I guess, I don't know how to phrase it without sounding rude. I don't want to be rude. It's always a good idea to dip your feet in those waters and try. Commentary like this requires a lot of time, but it has to be done quickly as well. You've mentioned you struggle to articulate points. Talking about this kind of drama is not for you then, is it? That's not to say you shouldn't, because if you really back somebody, of course. But now you've learnt additional harsh lessons, not just that people are snakes, including those you defended, but you've also learnt that you can't cover these kind of subjects well because you just don't have the time, so you can't do well. And when others warned you, you've also learnt you don't tend to listen to the right people. I would advise listening to them going forward. I may think you're a dick for how you treated our avatar artist, and I always will think that. But that doesn't mean the path forward for Just a Robot is impossible. It is just improbable you will do well continuing in this area if you cannot fix some very basic problems you have, although a couple of them are impossible. Anyway, we've reached the end of this video. There was more in that conclusion stuff, but I just wanted to include this as a bit of a TED talk at the end. Do tell me what you think in the comments down below. Perhaps I should have done this as one bigger video, but let's face it, 2's a bit more easy to digest. You can pick parts, I guess. No timestamps on mine though. I will be streaming on Twitch later tonight some Euro Truck. Yesterday was Star Truck. That was jolly good fun. Hope to see you there. If not, have a wonderful day. And thank you all very much for listening.